When I found out the villain was a merman who cried pearls, I fished the pregnancy test I'd thrown out of the trash. Then I went to the roof. So, how many do you mermen have at once? And do they eat fish food or formula? Declan, who had been in the middle of a dramatic suicide attempt, slipped and nearly plummeted from the 18th floor. I shook my head and sighed. You know what? Never mind. I'll just throw it in the ocean after it's born. Later, after the baby was born, Declan didn't even dare to sleep, terrified I'd take our child and release it into the wild. When the heroine, fighting with the hero, showed up at our door, he was in the middle of roaring at our eldest son over his swim meet results. You're a merman! How can you be afraid of water? I knew Declan was the main villain of this world, and I was the wife his grandfather had found for him before he died. My mission was supposed to be to save him, but I was slacking off. Not only did I not save him, but I also doubled down on spending his money and taking over his bed. The system, watching his darkness value remain stubbornly unchanged, had given up. The last time it appeared, it had left me with a cold parting shot. When the villain dies, I'll come get you. I'd been waiting for over half a year. Today was an auspicious day. The old almanac clearly stated, favorable for burials. When Declan, his heart shattered by the heroine, Zoe, dragged himself to the rooftop, I was already decked out in all the jewels from his safe, eagerly awaiting the system's arrival. But when the system finally materialized, its first words were, "Host, why are you wearing the villain's tears?" What? I looked down in shock at the priceless pearl necklace around my neck. Declan is a merman. Those pearls are his tears, the system intoned mournfully. A merman? A merman who cries pearls? My entire worldview crumbled. This wasn't a villain. This was a walking, talking gold mine. This necklace had been hidden in a secret compartment in his study. I'd assumed it was a birthday gift for Zoe, but her birthday party had come and gone, and the gift remained undelivered. So, one dark and stormy night, I'd helped myself. I remembered when Declan saw me wearing it, he'd looked at me with a complicated expression and asked, "You like this?" I had rolled my eyes. Duh, who's going to argue with money? I'd had it appraised. It was worth 120 million. Now that I thought about it, his expression had clearly been saying, "So you like my tears? System, I think he can still be saved." I ripped off the necklace, dug the pregnancy test out of the trash, and sprinted for the roof. At that moment, Declan had already climbed over the railing, half his body dangling 18 stories up. Wait! I held up the pregnancy test, panting. So, how many do you mermen have at once? And do they eat fish food or formula? His foot slipped, and he nearly fell. He clung to the railing, his body hanging in the open air. What did you say? Don't want to take responsibility? I was a little disappointed. How had telling him made him want to die faster? Fine then, I'll just throw it back in the ocean when it's born. It was just a one-time accident when he'd been drugged anyway. He probably didn't even remember. Before I could finish, a dark figure vaulted back over the railing and pinned me against the wall. You dare! A tidal wave of fury churned in his eyes. I secretly smiled, letting out a sigh of relief. Excellent. The gold mine was secure. After Declan came back from the roof, he wasn't himself. He settled me in the bedroom, then immediately locked himself in the study. I pressed my ear to the door and heard a frantic conversation. Calcium supplements during pregnancy. Seaweed. Wait, doctor, are you saying a human carrying a merman baby needs to soak in seawater every day? His voice suddenly rose. But she's pregnant. I was trying so hard not to laugh, my stomach hurt. Who would have thought that the dark, ruthless villain would be on the phone, frantically consulting an obstetrician, his voice trembling. When the study door suddenly opened, I nearly fell into his arms. Declan quickly caught me by the waist, the heat of his palm searing through my clothes. He looked down at me, his gaze falling to my flat stomach, his Adam's apple bobbing. I'm hungry, I interrupted him, my tone righteous. I want your homemade seafood congee. Soon the clattering of pots and pans came from the kitchen. The butler stood at the doorway, hesitating. Sir nearly burned down the kitchen the last time he cooked, he said. Oh, I replied. It's fine. He's rich. If he burns it down, we'll just move.